Fuck the police. Fuck the police. Fuck the police.
Okay, I got a question here on my webpage. I just want to discuss this put this up on YouTube so that everybody can appreciate the answers for this that I have. Comment comes from Alan, and Alan says, "Hey Rob, if mankind has a person within the corporate body politic, would it be a benefit or a law for a man to act as said person? If it is a benefit, who has the right to force mankind to act on said benefit? If it is a law that forces mankind to act as a legal person, would that not be slavery, or at least involuntary servitude upon mankind in this land? Is not slavery outlawed in all its forms on this land?" Just some thoughts. Well, Alan, the answer to that is simple. Yes, you have a legal person. Yes, it is yours. The Crown doesn't own it. The Crown never laid any claim to it, despite what people are out there saying, because they haven't done any real research. They just watch videos on YouTube and call that research. The fact is, the legal person is yours. It's a benefit for you to use, if you choose. You can also choose not to use it. Nobody can legally force you to be recognized as a legal person. The statement is, you have the right. Every person has the right to be recognized as a legal person before the law. So if you have a right to be recognized as a legal person, you also have the right not to be recognized as a legal person. To force you to be recognized as a legal person is to, in fact, commit the act of slavery or involuntary servitude, whichever way you want to look at it. I see them both being the same thing. If you're being forced to do something against your will, it's extortion. So, yeah, it is outlawed on this land. It's outlawed globally. The United Nations has outlawed slavery across all of the participating nations to it. And I state that very clearly because, like the Geneva Convention, not everybody is a signatory to it. Therefore, it's not necessary for all nations to follow the Geneva Convention. Anybody that's not a signatory to the United Nations, and I don't think there's a whole lot left anymore, is not obligated to follow the signatory of the United Nations, particularly of which would be in question here, of the International Human Rights, whatever. As far as the being forced to be able to have power over you, the reason the police want you to identify yourself properly, and that's the words they use, I need you to properly identify yourself. What they're looking for is identity that you are well, they use the term Canadian citizen, I guess, but a corporation, an employee of the Crown Corporation. That somehow the Crown Corporation has authority over you. And for example, I was in the military for 20 years, so I'll give you this as an example. The military does not have any authority over anybody on this land unless they have signed up and joined either as a reservist, active member, or as a civilian employee for the military. If you want to break that contract, there are certain obligations that you must fulfill first. For example, if you're coming up on 10 years, you decide, screw this, I don't want to be in here anymore, but your contract says you're there till 20 years, you have to submit your release, you have to wait 6 months, and if there's any pending charges, whether they be criminal or otherwise from the military, you have to have those charges settled within the court. You have to have the penalties paid off. If you do jail time, you got to go to jail. If it's fines, you got to pay the fines. If it's confined to barracks or whatever, you got to do that. But you have to settle those charges, and then, after all of that is completed, you can be released, and the military will then have no further authority over you. They don't just randomly get to come up and say, oh, well, you're here, so we have the right to charge you for these crimes. They don't. Police don't. The police actually have the jurisdiction within the Crown Corporation depends on their jurisdiction, but it could be Ontario, it could be Alberta, it could be Canada in the case of RCMP, it could be maybe just municipality of the city of Toronto, wherever it is, that's the only place they have authority over. And they only have authority over the employees of those corporations, not over the general public who happen to be walking down the street. If you question that and you don't believe me, read R versus Dell. Read McKinney versus the University of Guelph in the Supreme Court of Canada. Read any of them. They'll all refer to different ones. And so many times it's been ruled that the government cannot regulate private persons and private businesses that it's insane. And people still say, well, they of course they have the right. They're the government. They have the right to tell you what to do. No, they don't. They never did. They never have, and they never will. They only get it because you don't resist it. You don't oppose it. And because people have stopped opposing it so long ago and so many times, it's at a point now where we actually are in a police state. If you don't, they will drag you out of the car by force. They will hurt you, and they will drag you down to the police station until they can properly identify you. And when I say that, they mean as a corporate entity that works for them, as a corporate employee that works for them, that they have authority and jurisdiction over. If they can't identify you properly as that, then they have no jurisdiction. That's why illegal aliens in the States and in Canada, there's a few, not as bad as in the States, but what's the whole issue with that is why they get away with so much, because the cops have no jurisdiction over it. And you can see it starting to crack down there, where they're starting to go outside their jurisdiction. They're starting to use force and use violence to suppress the people. It's no different right now what's going on than what happened in Nazi Germany just prior to World War II. The U.S. has secret, we don't know where they all are, but everybody knows about Guantanamo Bay, where they are illegally arresting people, detaining them, torturing them. I mean, these are crimes that even Hitler isn't really guilty or can be proven to have done. They do the same to citizens within the United States. They do the same to people coming across the borders and such, border crossers. The U.S. has gone into a complete police state situation that makes 1930s Germany look like a playground. I view Canada as being the equivalent of Italy in that situation. I mean, we are doing the same thing, just not as bad. There's still some, very limited, but some concern of the police department chiefs and the politicians and the public to control the police and to keep them under control. For example, the one gentleman in Toronto who shot the guy on a bus. He had mental disabilities and he was on drugs. He got charged for and convicted of attempted murder. I don't know what his sentence was. He may have just got a slap on the wrist thrown out of the police force, but he did get convicted. These things are still going on. And unless the people start to wake up truly and realize that they don't have authority over you. They never did have authority over you. You have authority over them because they work for the people and you're the people. Unless you're employed by them, you don't work for them. They don't have authority over you on that. So that's the long and short of it. They have no right to tax you. They will. I mean, and they will violently take your money, and they're still coming after me. Yes, you have a legal person. Yes, you have the right to use it. You have the right not to use it. It's up to you. If you don't use it, you don't get any other benefits. If you do use it, benefits always, always, always come with costs. Keep that in mind.
Wherever they impose a rule, when the politicians use them as a tool. I don't imagine that the good guys please. Come on, everybody, sing with me. Fuck the police. 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 for the crimes they invented, for the people they protected. When they're covering up lies, when the government spies, when they're reading my mail, for the terrorist fairy tale, when they listen to my phone calls, when they fuck you up for no calls, when they beat me up for no need, when they bust me for smoking weed, when they're reading my mail like a government spy, when they're lying scum and they're covering up lies, when they're hassling any dissenters, when they're locking up old protesters, when they're working as the arm of the state, when they're racist and they're protecting hate, when they're thugs and scum they shoot you in the face, when they target you just because of your race, anywhere they support a monarchy, anywhere they presume you're guilty, anywhere they prop up a tyranny, wherever they impose a rule, when the politicians use them as a tool. I don't imagine that they're good guys, please. Come on everybody, sing with me.
Fuck the police.
Fuck the police.